Hi everyone. So this is a new video and this would be video number 1. I'm going to number my videos in the titles because this is a path. I am on a path to stand up for my rights, and I am I even named my channel Old Dog New Tricks because, well, I'm not that old. I'm in my 50s. And the new tricks, to me, are becoming awakened to what is going on in our world with our government, etc. Now, I have to say this, I wasn't going to, but I think it's probably a good idea. And my videos might get a little side-railed sometimes. Just bear with me. I have a lot of information I want to share with everybody. I am also learning as I go. And another reason why I'm doing this channel on this topic is to learn and to grow and to cement these ideas and realizations and truth in my own mind and soul, because that is what has to happen. So oftentimes I might talk about other things. So the little disclaimer here I want to make is, if somebody recognizes my voice and knows who I am, I'm not going to be making videos like I used to make. I used to have several truth channels. Google has been cracking down very hard on particular topics that myself and many others were focused on. This channel will have nothing to do with that. I won't even mention those things. This is going to be specific to government fraud pertaining to the driver's license fraud, and I will eventually get into the IRS fraud. I will get into legalese, which I'm going to talk about here in this video, and also what the courts truly represent. Mostly now, for the last several weeks, which is really a short time compared to some people who've been studying this for years, I have been submersing myself in information, in videos, in documents about the driver's license fraud, and everyone needs to know this. So I made a little, I thought long and hard about what this video should be about, the first one. So I thought, well, what's the most important thing people need to understand before they start to learn what is going on with this DMV fraud, and how can it be true when 300 million Americans register their cars and have license plates on their cars and have car insurance and carry a driver's license that they think they absolutely have to have on them when they're driving. Well, here's a little hint. They're not driving. They're traveling, and there's a huge difference there. So I thought, what would be the most important thing that a person who's starting to look into this topic needs to understand? And it's more of what you should be, how you should be thinking. It's a way of thinking. Right now, a lot of people, most people in America, think of our government as police officers. They think of, they don't think of the government as police officers. They think of the government and police officers and institutions like the DMV, all of these places and people, they think of as some higher authority over them. Humans have forgotten and lost their way a long time ago, and it is not their fault. It is the fault of these very institutions I'm talking about. They have brainwashed and manipulated everybody in the most subtle ways you can't even imagine, through TV, through Hollywood, movies, radio, talk shows, newspapers, magazines, everything. It's all mind control and manipulation to make you think that you are obliged to do these things at their order and their behest. And also, and worse than all of that, is that most Americans think that their rights are granted or destroyed by the government, that they get to make these things up. They don't. The problem we have here is that people don't understand that we are in charge of the government. We, the people, are in charge of them. Policemen are your servant. Next time you see a policeman, think of him in a maid's uniform. No offense to maids. That's a very hard job to have. But think of them as a butler or something like that. Okay? They are there to serve people. They're serving you. They're supposed to be serving you. People get so wound up when they see a cop car or a police officer. Well, of course they would. Here's a man in a costume with a shiny badge on his chest and a gun on his hip, walking around in broad daylight in public. These people stop you on deserted highways in the middle of the night and come up to your car with you trapped inside. Of course, you should be terrified of this man who you don't know holding a gun coming up to you. But why do you do it? Why do you stop? Why do you obey? Because we have been trained, just like a dog's trained to do new tricks. We have been trained to think of them as this high authority that you must bow to and that you must comply to every step of the way. No matter what he says and what he wants, you must hand it over. You must, because that is the law. Well, it would shock you to learn that every single time a so-called police officer stops you in your car because you were going faster than the speed limit, or you have a tail light out, or he sees that your registration sticker's expired, he is committing a crime. He is actually committing a crime. Every single one of them, every single time. Unless you were driving very dangerously and he saw you commit a crime or something to that effect, or you damage someone's property, or you're endangering people, swerving onto sidewalks, something ridiculous like that, then of course, anybody has a right to stop you. Even a civilian person has a right to stop you. Anybody has a right to stop you. But unfortunately, so many people, and I see it happen all the time when I'm around people and they see a cop, their entire attitude changes. We must stop, and this is a big, tall order here, but we must stop feeling inferior to these people who are there to serve and protect us. They're supposed to be our best friends. They're supposed to understand what they're doing. The government is the same thing, but on such a grander scale, it's not even worth getting into here because I could go on for hours about that institution. So, I really want people to start to understand and think of your government as an entity that has far outgrown its welcome and is not your authority. It is there in place for you. We, humans in America, created government to assist us, help us, protect us, maintain things. It is absolutely so far gone. I don't see the only way we can repair this problem we have, which is much bigger than just the driver's license fraud. And these are things that I'm not going to get into because I could bowl you over with some information that you might not be aware of. I realized recently that the only way I'm going to make some real change. And mind you, I still am waking people up to certain things in other ways, because that's necessary, and we should all be doing that, just like I'm doing with this channel. But I realize that the only way to really make any actual change is to be the change you want to see. So, isn't it easy to pay that registration fee? Just pay it, you know. I have a picture here. This is not my registration renewal. This is just I found it on the internet. Somebody took out all the information up here. I'm just showing you this while I talk about it, because I have one in front of me right here, my own. And it says at the very top, Notice of Delinquent Registration. Final notice it's on a nice red border with my license number, my VIN number. And then they want $437. Who has $437 just laying around that they can just fork over to the DMV every single month, or every single year? Of course, attached to this are 2 parking tickets, which is a non-event with no injuries and no victims and no witnesses to that. So that is fraud also. These things do not apply to me. This piece of paper is alien to me because it comes from a corporation that I'm not doing business with anymore. I will not pay this. I never will pay this. Ever. Never. This channel is going to be a lot about this topic. And it's going to be a lot of videos, because as I learn, I will bring information to this channel. $236 parking bail, it says on my delinquent registration. And how dare they send me, a private person who conveys his automobile on the highways, which are there for me, in my household good, my automobile for traveling purposes in pursuit of my own life and liberty. How dare they send me a bill basically presuming that I am on the roads for commercial purposes, and I am not. And they know that I am not. These people at the top of the ladder completely understand the fraud that they are pulling over 300+ million Americans, assuming that many convey their automobiles for traveling purposes. It's insulting to me. Expiration date 5 months ago. Final notice. Good. Final notice. Excellent. I'm going to be taking lots of steps and measures informing them of my withdrawal from their corporate fraud and this racketeering that they are trying to put on me and get money out of me again, which they've been doing for 30 years. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of car insurance that I've paid every single month for 30+ years. Never, ever once in my entire life have I been in an accident and had to use that insurance money. Not a single time. 30 years of car insurance paid every single month, flushed down the drain. So, if this is all news to you, you must be freaking out right about now, thinking, what in the world is this guy going on about? How could he possibly say that I don't need a registration, car insurance, license plates, or a driver's license to get in my automobile and drive to the store for a gallon of milk? That's ridiculous. Well, a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, this man said that the earth went around the sun. Well, everybody back then thought that the sun was going around the earth, and they thought he was insane, and they locked him up. Right. So we have here a similar situation where most people can't even comprehend that you don't need a driver's license. But I will be showing you in this and many videos, well, maybe not this one, I might not get into that this one, but let me tell you something. The law itself has said and stated and confirmed from lower courts to the Supreme Court that you have a right to travel in your private car without being taxed by the state, without being charged, without having to have the accoutrements of commercial drivers, which would be your driver's license. It's all black and white, everybody. There is an enormous amount of evidence, and there are many, many people who are challenging this and winning every single day. There are tons of videos online of people being confronted and pulled over by police officers, policy enforcers. Get it? Police, policy. That's what they're doing. That's what their job is. Trying to get money out of you for the state, in all caps, which is the corporation. They're trying to get revenue. They're no different than gang members running around in their gang colors with their guns, robbing you. Think of policemen pulling you over in pirate uniforms. That's what they're doing. And you could even add to that that the roadways are actually considered navigable waterways in the courts. I don't think I have that wrong, but that's something I'll be looking into some more. I've been mostly focused on the fraud of the driver's license, registration, license plates, car insurance that they say you need and you do not. So I'm going to I wanted to show you, my videos I've seen a lot of these videos on this topic and they're pretty clear cut. I like to throw little different things in there, and I really want you to listen to this.
About the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
George Carlin is a comedian, but everything he just said was 100% true. Every single thing. You find your own truth if you don't believe me. But that's what's going on. It is a big club, and you and I are not in it. We are the people that they are taking from. Legal Information Institute. 28 U.S. Code Section 3002 definitions. Counsel for the United States means, and if you go down here, it says right here, 15, United States means a federal corporation, an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States, or an instrumentality of the United States. Federal corporation. The United States is a business. Okay? This is not some rumor. This is the truth. United States of America is a corporation. Okay? It's all the information is there for you to find it. And they bow and they toe the line for major corporations. They do whatever they want. They all pat each other on the back. They're all in the same big club. That's what's going on. And you are the consumer. Okay? I'm not going to keep going on about this stuff because I'll get derailed. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want to start ranting about other stuff that I'm pissed off about. Because I'm not going to get into topics that I used to get into. That's for maybe other channels and other times. So, hold on. Whatever state you're in, and you can just pull these up randomly, this is the Washington State Legislature. Recreational vehicle definition. Primarily designed for recreational, camping, or travel use. The term recreational vehicle shall include vehicles used exclusively for non-commercial purposes. Non-commercial. Now, if all cars, automobiles, motor vehicles were all the same, were all under the same category of motor vehicle, why would there be a definition of recreational vehicle exclusively for non-commercial purposes? Your car, your automobile is your recreational vehicle. It is non-commercial. You do not need car insurance, a driver's license, license plates on your car, or registration. You just don't. So this is what I wanted to talk about in this video here. Legalese. You've heard that word before, legalese. Okay, legalese is actually a foreign language. Think of legalese, which is what they use. Any cop who pulls you over and he starts talking to you in words that you think you understand, you don't. You don't understand them at all. He might as well be speaking some foreign language that you don't have any clue what he's saying, because that's what he's doing. It's a trick. And mind you now, I have to say, the police officers pulling you over might not be aware of this, that they're also being tricked. They're enforcing laws that aren't really laws. Their policies, codes, and regulations don't apply to anybody they're pulling over, unless they're pulling over a taxi cab driver or pizza delivery guy in his Domino's car, or big rigs hauling lumber, or anything for that matter. Those are the people that the driver's license, registration, car insurance, etc. all pertain to. They're the ones who have to have the license plates because they're using our public roads, and they do a lot of heavy damage to our public roads. They're the ones who are supposed to be paying these fees and registrations and taxes. Everything's basically just a tax to cover the costs of repairing the roads that they are damaging for public travelers. You see how it's working? This is the language, the idea, the reality that you need to get under your skin. You need to get it into your soul, because it is the truth. This is the reality. We're all being screwed over big time. Okay, you, whatever God you believe in, or if you don't believe in a God, I don't care. I don't care at all. I'll never, ever divide with religion on this channel, ever. I bring it up because a lot of people say your God-given rights. Well, if you don't believe in a God, then it's just your natural rights from being born on earth as a human, as a living being on this planet. You have fundamental rights. And one of those fundamental rights is to be able to move around freely. A long time ago, when a lot of these rights were recognized, they weren't made for us, they were recognized because they're just natural rights. The tools of travel back then were horse-drawn carriages and things like that. Well, now it's automobiles, cars with motors in them. But you can't say motor vehicle to a police officer, because then suddenly you've opted into his corporation. and then he has you. So, however you move around is your right to do it, and you have to start understanding that. Walking, bicycling, skateboarding, in your car, on the roads that are there for you, it is your right. Nobody can regulate your right. Can anybody come up to you and say, ma'am, you just said 20 words a minute ago. I'm going to have to charge you for those words because you've gone a little bit over your allotment of the day in words that you speak. How preposterous would that be? Well, you need to start thinking of being ticketed for a traffic offense, what they call an offense, as being just as preposterous as being charged for speaking too many words in one day. This is really what I want to impress upon people in this video, is that you must start changing the way you think of these so-called authority figures who are actually your servant. If you have trouble, you call a police or a peace officer. Policemen are policy men. They're policy enforcers. They're like private security guards for the corporation of the United States, going out and claiming that people are breaking the corporation's rules. Well, you're not a corporation. That's another topic we're going to get into. See, this is a very deep rabbit hole. You are not a corporation. Look at your own registration, even your checks in your checkbook. Any document you get from the government, IRS, your name is in all capital letters. That is the corporate you. That is not really you. Okay, this gets into a whole other area which I will be very happy to do videos on in the near future. It's called the straw man. If you want to look into it now, make a note to yourself. This is what they're coming to you. You have to be in their system. So if you have anything in your car, like a license or registration, and you give it to them, well, then you've suddenly stood up and said, yes, I'm a corporate person. I'm in your corporate system. Please let me pay you. Let me give you more money that I've worked my ass off for. You have to start understanding that you're being defrauded. It's racketeering on a very massive scale, and they're making millions and millions of dollars. And you might be thinking, well, if it's gone to the Supreme Court, if it has gone to any court, which it has many, many times, and I'll be showing you these cases and their numbers and their documents, and you can look them up for yourself. It's all out there. You might be thinking, well, if it's gone there, then why are they still doing it? If the courts have already ruled, then why are they still doing it? Because they let them, because they're all basically a part of the system. But if you figure it out and you use it and you turn it around on them, they're not going to just come out and announce, oh, this guy, he's right. Well, we're just shut down DMV now. No, they're never going to do that. Well, they still need DMV because there are commercial vehicles on the roads. But they're not going to say, okay, well, we're going to stop getting hundreds of millions of dollars out of these people every year because, yeah, they're right. They caught us. They're never going to do that. But if you get into a court and you have the knowledge, you can win. People are winning and beating this racketeering. They are doing it. And I'll get into that more later. But if you go into court and you don't know what the hell you're talking about, then they can still beat you, even though they're wrong and even though you know it. Because that's unfortunately just how this system is. So you really need to start understanding that you are in charge and you have the right, fundamental right, protected by the Constitution, not given to you by the Constitution, protected. And we're talking about the organic Constitution, not when the government changed it. That's, more on that later. So if you've been reading this, legalese is jargon that not even most lawyers, judges, or cops understand. It's a homograph. A homograph is a word that shares the same written form as another word but has a different meaning. They do this on purpose, by the way, people. This is not an accident. This is not some word trickery, which I've seen a cop say to a guy in another video who's driving without license plates and a license. He said to him, well, I'm not going to get into your word games, because that's how policemen are trained to think. They're not smart, okay? Most of them are just not smart. They're brave because the job they have going up to cars, they don't know who's in that car. I get it. You know, sometimes they have to be engaged in tracking down real criminals who are actually hurting people and damaging property. Those are the people they should be after. Not you and me, peacefully driving for 30 years without damaging or hurting another person, ever. Going to the store to get a gallon of milk. Don't come after me. I'm not bothering anybody. Leave me alone. That's your attitude. You must adopt it. Language. The literal meaning of the word language is a monster of war that protects the noble ones or golden gods throughout the ages. Okay, that's a little tidbit I just picked up on another video. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Monster of war, that would be the government, that protects the noble ones or golden gods, that would be the people who own the government, throughout the ages. Okay, I might be simplifying that, but that's the point of it. Statutes are intentionally written to hide the real truth and meaning from the casual reader. Legalese is a foreign language. These are kind of notes that I put to myself that I'm sharing with you. Do not use Black's Law Dictionary after the 6th book. Case laws were removed. Without the case laws in them that show you these rulings that yes, we are traveling and license plates and driver's license do not actually pertain to us, then they're worthless. A lot of these words pertaining to driving and transportation, etc., are rabbit holes, meaning they define each other in circles and can be understood only by another defining term. That's also called, you have to take all these words together in para materia, which is like just taking them all in together to understand them. It's trickery. It's obfuscation. The whole thing is unbelievable, to pull the wool over your eyes. When these common-looking words are used in statutes, they always have a definition that is not common and is not the same as a Webster dictionary. The rule of statutory interpretation is that any term or phrase will always be interpreted in line with its common usage, which is common usage, but it means common usage in law. So even if the courts are saying, these are the common usage of the words, they're talking about the common usage in their law, which is legalese. Okay? You cannot trust a word of anything anybody says in a courtroom. Seriously. They might as well be speaking Arabic. The word government literally means to rule the mind. They're basically telling you, with the words they choose, what they're doing to you. Your last name. So here are some legalese words and names that you need to understand when you're dealing with police officers / policy enforcers, or if you end up in a courtroom. And if you are having to end up in a courtroom, you better start doing a lot of research. Speaking of research, briefly here, I'll just say, you must immerse yourself in this stuff. Have leaflets, have printed downloads of things like this I'm showing you in your car, where you can read them at a red light or when you go in for coffee or something like that. You have to get this stuff in your head. It has to be something you spout out at the top of your head. Like, this is something I memorized recently. Here goes. In the Transportation Code, 201.904, Title 6, the state must erect and maintain speed limit signs that apply to commercial motor vehicles. Okay, so I can spout that off to a traffic cop anytime he pulls me over without looking at a piece of paper. If I'm doing what he calls speeding, which is a whole other topic. Well, not that far off, but those speed limit signs apply to commercial vehicles, not you. You can go as fast as you want. And if you hurt somebody or damage something or run someone over, then you're in trouble. If you don't, you're not in trouble. But you're a responsible conveyor of your automobile, So obviously, like I do, I pretty much follow the posted speed limits. Basically, I just kind of stay with the flow of traffic like anybody else does. You know, if I find myself going a little too fast, I'll slow down because it feels safer to me. I'm a safe driver. I've never had an accident in my life. And that's what it comes down to. I digress. So this is a little off topic. Your last name is the corporate fictional entity. If a policeman says to you, what is your last name? You need to correct him and say, I do not have a last name. I have a family name. Your last name is a corporate fictional entity. Tell him your family name. And when you spell it, it's usually, I think people do it with your first name and then a colon and then your family name. It's your given name, colon, family name. And you only use capital letter in the first letter and then lowercase or all lowercase. Don't ever use all capital letters. So, commercial motor vehicle. This is something that transports commercial property, which means you have to be in commerce and driving for these purposes. You have to be engaged in business. Driving is to unwittingly place yourself in admiralty or commercial jurisdiction. If you tell a driver, if a cop says to you, how fast were you driving? You need to say, first of all, you don't have to answer any questions of his. But if you do want to oblige him, you need to correct him and say, I'm not driving. Driving is what commerce does. You tell him that you're conveying your automobile. You are traveling. You are not driving. You need to get these things in your head. Driving is a privilege. Traveling is a right. If somebody tells you, oh, you need to get your driver's license because it's a privilege. No, it's not a privilege. A privilege is something that they allow you to do. Something you have to beg for by asking for a driver's license. It's not a privilege. You have the right as a living human being to go wherever you want to go freely without being molested and taxed by these gang members. Motor vehicle, also passenger car. The term motor vehicle means a self-propelled vehicle which is registered for highway use under the laws of any state, the District of Columbia, or a foreign country. Okay, this is being defined as a registered vehicle, which means it is used for commerce. And here is the rule number right here. This stuff is all in their laws. You're only telling them what their laws say. That's all you're doing. You're not making things up. It's not a word game. Motor vehicle, according to the Washington State Legislature, this is the revised code for Washington. That's what RCW means. Motor vehicle means every vehicle that is self-propelled and every vehicle that is propelled by electric power obtained from overhead trolley wires but not operated upon rails. Motor vehicle includes a neighborhood electric vehicle, includes a medium-speed electric vehicle as defined, etc., etc. Vehicle puts the driver under commercial code. And I'm not driving a commercial vehicle. I'm not operating for business or exchange. I do not work for the government. You need to start repeating these things to yourself over and over and over. If he says, are you the owner? This also means a person who holds legal title of vehicle. Again, vehicle. They're going to catch you and trip you up. Just keep saying, this is my car. I paid for it in full. It is my automobile. I am conveying it. I am traveling. Passenger car is a motor vehicle designed for the transportation of persons. Passenger. If he says to you, who are your passengers in your car, you're going to say, well, they're actually not paying me to take them anywhere, so they're not passengers. They are occupants of my automobile that I'm conveying for traveling purposes. You have to get this language in your head. Common carrier is the transportation of goods or passengers for pay. They will hardly ever use this with you if a cop pulls you over. They're not going to say anything like that, but you just need to understand that also. Traffic. Even the word traffic is commercial. The movement of passengers or commodity in exchange for compensation. Getting paid. Traffic is therefore business. Traffic is the ordinary uses of streets and highways for travelers. Sorry, should have turned that off. Okay, transportation. You're hearing me say transportation often. The transportation code, the Department of Transportation. Well, what's in the word transportation? Transport. When you're in your car going to the store, are you transporting anything for money? Are you getting paid to transport anything? No. Then you're not engaged in transportation, which is the removal of goods or persons by a carrier, someone getting paid, which is someone conducting business and getting paid for it. It also means the movements of property and loading, unloading, or storage incidental to the movement. Note, federal law is specifically directed at commerce, and the same goes for the state government. They cannot regulate your private activity, only commercial activity that has an opportunity to affect the general public. So they're tricking all of us, every single one of us. Person means corporation or company. You are a people. You are a human. You are the man, you are the woman. If a cop says person to you, you need to think of the word person in all capital letters, which means it's a corporation or company. It's a legal fiction. Here's a good one. Ma'am, do you understand that you were going 65 miles an hour? Or do you understand me? If you're in a courtroom and the judge says your name and says, do you understand or something, they're really actually saying, do you stand under my authority? That's what they're really saying, especially in a courtroom. A cop might just mean the common definition of understand, but always correct them, just so that you get used to it. Cop says, do you understand? Belligerently, sometimes they can be very belligerent, and you say, I comprehend what you said, or something, Tacit, understood or implied without being spoken. They treat us as persons and chattel of the state as if we understand and abide by that, though we have been tricked into it from birth and are not consenting anymore. That's kind of a non sequitur there. So these are just your basic words that will be used on you by policemen, policy enforcers, pulling you over because you didn't stop long enough, or the little sticker on the back of your car is the wrong color, or a tail light is out, or you were going 5 miles over the speed limit, or you weren't at all and he just needs to meet his quota for giving out tickets. This is legalese. It is a foreign language. Think of it as a foreign language. You need to get all these words down on paper and start memorizing their true meanings of them, because you're being lied to and you're being tricked. We are all being deceived deliberately by our government, by the court system, by the police officers. Now, a lot of police officers don't understand any of this because their higher-ups train them to think that you're a crazy person. This is the reality. It's very unfortunate. So, if you're going to do this, if you're going to, as I'm going to be doing soon, I'm working on it, I'm writing documents, I am getting forms together, I am actually doing this. I am going to be removing the license plates from my car, and I'm going to take you on my journey. Right now, I'm not taking my driver's license with me in my car, and today I took the registration, which was expired anyway, and my proof of insurance out of my car. I don't have anything in my car that identifies my name as having any of these things. Because sometimes, unfortunately, policy enforcers, policemen, get very angry and they will break your window. I've seen it on video. Mind you, when these things occur, the person that they're talking to inside the car is also belligerent and not being respectful and kind and calm. And you must always remain kind and calm, and you must put the police officer, policy enforcer at ease at all times and let him know that you are not armed and you are non-violent and you mean him no harm at all. He has to know that. You have to put him at ease, and you have to respect him as a human being, because he's also being defrauded and lied to. Now, some cops understand this and don't give a damn. They still want to just get you out of your car because they have this big ego and they want to make sure they win. That's really what's going on with a lot of policy enforcers. So when you are doing this, you must remain calm, you must state only facts, and you don't have to give him anything at all. We'll be getting into that some more later. You do not give him anything. You don't even have to tell him anything if you haven't just committed a crime, or if he has any reason at all whatsoever to suspect you were committing a crime. He has to show proof of that. They cannot take your car, they cannot force you out of your car, and you should not be getting out of your car. You should leave your window down only so much to be able to talk to him. He does not have to give you any orders, but he will, and you do not have to obey him. He is not your master. Get this in your head. You are in control of him. He is there to serve and protect you. Anyway, that's how it's supposed to be. He's serving the corporation. But now you know. Now I know. And I'm going to be taking my plates off my car in the near future. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to do it. Right now, the sticker on my car is expired. And so every time I get on the road, I'm prepared. And I have lots of documents in my car, things that I can even give him, showing him case law after case law after case law, where it clearly defines the fact that I'm traveling and that these things he's trying to get money out of me for do not pertain to me. If they press it and it goes to court, well, most people walk out of that court if they really know what they're doing, and you really must get into this. It's not that hard, honestly. Just takes a lot of memorizing and diving in and submersing yourself in this information. I have so many things to show you. I want you to come on this journey with me. I'm going to be learning from you all, and hopefully you'll be learning from me. I'm sorry for the length of this video. That's a problem I have, making long videos. I'm not going to, at this time, allow comments because there are a lot of people who want to tell everybody that I'm a lunatic and that I don't know what I'm talking about here. But the law's there. The law itself is there to tell you. I'm not telling you anything. I'm only telling you what the law is telling us all, that we do not need a driver's license. It's not required of us. We have the right to travel freely without having to pay taxes for it. And all these rules on the road apply only to commerce. That's the bottom line. It's that simple. And if people are going into court for these things and walking out free and not having to pay a dime, which happens often, then obviously it is true. So, but you must know what you're doing, and you must have a vast amount of knowledge to do this. But eventually it starts to make sense because it becomes clearly obvious that it is normal and natural. And then you start to get into that mindset and things get even easier. That's the experience that I'm having now. And I guess that's about it. I will leave an email address in the description box. I just ask only, please, to email me with important information, or if you have, you want to get connected and you're in the same boat, or just anything like that. But just casual. If you're a shill out there and you just want to cause trouble, go ahead. I don't care. I'm just going to delete your email. You're not going to engage me. I'm not going to waste my very precious, valuable time with some idiot traitor to humanity who wants people to think that I'm wrong, because they are out there, people, and they're being paid to brainwash you. So that said, I thank you for your time. I hope you've learned a lot, and I will be making plenty more videos on this subject, the driving fraud, the driver's license fraud. So start governing yourself. Remember that we are the ones paying the cops. They are our servants, just like the president is our servant. This is racketeering. There is no question about it. And we are not going to put up with this anymore. I am not going to put up with this anymore. I'm not paying this registration. I will never pay this registration. And like I said, I will be taking those plates off my car. I do not use my driver's license when I get in my car anymore, and I am going to be canceling my car insurance next month, or this month. And this is September 2017. So thanks again, everyone.